Okay, lesson 5, painting and retouching. In this lesson, you'll get a quick primer in color and color models. You will then have an opportunity to practice using Photoshop's painting and retouching tools, such as the brush, clone stamp, and a variety of healing tools. So let's start on page 148, setting up your color settings. Before you begin selecting colors for painting, you should have an understanding of color modes in Photoshop's color settings. Let's start with a basic introductory overview of two main color modes that you will use in this lesson, RGB and CMYK. This lesson is about painting, adding colors, and changing and retouching images. It is important to understand that what you see on the screen is not necessarily what your final viewers will see. Bright colors tend to become duller when output to a printer, and some colors can't even be reproduced on the monitor or on paper. This is due to the fact that each device, whether it's a monitor, printer, or TV screen, has a different color gamut. The gamut represents the number of colors that can be represented, detected, and reproduced on a specific device. Although you may not realize it, you have experience with different gamuts already. Your eyes can see many more colors than your monitor or a printing press can produce. In this lesson, you'll learn how to address some of the color limitations that are inherent when working with color that is displayed or output by different devices. A quick introduction to the RGB and CMYK color models will help you to get a better grasp on what you can achieve. Understand that there are entire books on this subject, but you will at least gain enough information to be dangerous after reading this section. If you receive a missing or mismatched profile warning dialog box on any image used in this lesson, just press OK to accept the default settings. So the RGB, the red, green, blue color model, is an additive model in which red, green, and blue are combined in various ways to create other colors. Go to File, Open, and we're going to navigate to the PS05 Lessons folder. Okay, we're going to navigate to, we're going to open, and we're going to navigate to the PS05 folder. And we're going to open the PS06 RGB, PS06 RGB. An image with red, green, and blue circles appears. I'm going to click OK. Try to imagine the three color circles as light beams from 3 flashlights with red, green, and blue colored lenses or gels. Select the Move tool and then check the Auto Select checkbox in the options bar. Move right here and check this box, Auto Select. By checking the Auto Select layer, you can automatically activate a layer by selecting pixel information on that layer. One at a time, click and drag the red, green, and blue circles around on the image. Notice that white light is generated where the 3 colors intersect. So I'm going to drag this one around. See how it lightens. Now turn off the visibility of the layers by selecting the visibility icon on the left of each layer name, with the exception of the black layer. Right here, I'm going to click on the eyes to turn them off. It is like turning off a flashlight. When there is no light, there is no color. So we're going to close this file, and we're not going to save it. the CMYK color model, the cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. Black was once referred to as the key color, is a subtractive color model, meaning that it is ink, that as ink is applied to a piece of paper, these colors absorb light. This color model is based on mixing CMYK pigments to create other colors. Ideally, by combining CMY inks together, the color black should result. In reality, the combination of those three pigments creates a dark, muddy color, and so black is added to create a panel with true blacks. CMYK works through light absorption. The colors that are seen are the portion of visible light that is reflected, not absorbed, by the objects on which the light falls. The CMYK magenta plus yellow creates red, magenta plus cyan creates blue, and cyan plus yellow generates green. Choose File, Open, and we're going to open 06 CMYK right here. An image with a cyan, magenta, and yellow circles appear. Think of the colors in this file as being created with ink printed on paper. With the Move tool selected and the Auto Select Layer checkbox checked, individually click and drag the cyan, magenta, and yellow circles around on the image to see the color combinations that are created with ink pigments of these three colors. Notice that black appears at the intersection of all three, but as mentioned earlier, it would never reproduce that purely on a printing press. Choose File, Close, and don't save it. Unless you use, uncheck the Auto Select Layer box in the options bar, so we're going to uncheck that. Unless you use an advanced color management system, you should do much of your creative work in the RGB mode. The CMYK mode is limited in its capabilities, fewer menu selections, and if you work in this mode, you have already made some decisions about your final image output that may not be accurate. Follow this short color primer to help you achieve the results that you expect. In this lesson, you'll use generic profiles for your monitor and output devices. If you want to create a custom monitor profile, follow the instructions in the Photoshop Help menu under the heading Calibrate and Profile Your Monitor. You can also type Calibrate Monitor into the search field on adobe.com to find additional helpful tips for calibrating your display. So we're going to File, Browse in Bridge. And we're going to navigate to the 05 Lessons folder. And we're going to open 0601. A very colorful image of a woman appears. Press Ctrl Y. Some of the colors become duller. By pressing Ctrl Y, you have turned on the proof colors. This is a toggle keyboard shortcut, which means you can press Ctrl Y again to turn off the preview. Note that the text in your title bar indicates whether this preview is active or not. Right here. Control Y. Control Y. Notice the difference up there? Keep the file open for the next part of this lesson. The proof colors preview attempts to visually simulate what the colors in this image would look like if it were to be printed. This simulation is controlled by the choices you make and the color settings. This is why understanding the color settings is important, as the settings you choose not only affect your preview, but also how the image appears in its final destination, print or on screen. For this lesson, you will adjust the color settings for Photoshop as if the final destination for this image is in print. Note that if you have Creative Suite 6 installed, you can adjust your color settings suite-wide under using Adobe Bridge. Applying color settings through Adobe Bridge saves you time and trouble of making sure that all the colors are consistent throughout your production process. If you have a suite installed, follow the steps that are indicated for suite users. If you have Adobe Photoshop installed independently, follow the steps for adjusting Photoshop color settings only. So we're gonna do it in Bridge because we have the suite installed. If you do not have, choose Edit Creative Suite Color Settings. Edit Creative Suite Color Settings, and select North America Prepress 2. Right here. North America Prepress 2 right there. If it is not already selected, then press the Apply button. The new color settings are applied throughout the suite applications. Note that the settings you selected is a generic setting created for a printing process that is typical in North America. If your selections are not exactly the same, choose the setting that states it is a pre-press setting. So now we're going to click the Return to Adobe Photoshop boomerang icon. In the top of Bridge. Right here. In Photoshop, choose Edit Color Settings. If North America Prepress 2 is not selected in the settings, which ours is, you can tell if you are in the CMYK preview by looking at the title bar of the image window. Notice that CMYK appears in parentheses at the end of the title. Right up here. In parentheses. It is good to get this sneak peek into what your CMYK image will look like, but there is still the issue of having many different kinds of CMYK output devices. You might have one printer that produces excellent results and another that can hardly hold a color. In the next section, you will learn about the different CMYK settings and how they affect your image. Make sure that the CMYK preview is still on. If not, press Ctrl-Y from the CMYK drop-down menu in the working space section of the color settings dialog box. So Ctrl-Y, Ctrl-Y. We want this one to be on. Notice the color changes in the image you need to from the CMYK drop-down menu in the working spaces section of the color settings dialog box. Go back to color settings. Choose US Sheetfed Coded to V2 from the CMYK dropdown. So here's a dropdown, and we're going to choose US Sheetfed Uncoded V2 right here. Notice the color change in the image. I'm going to say OK. You may need to reposition the color settings dialog box in order to see your image. Photoshop is now displaying the characteristics of the color space for images printed on a sheet-fed press. This would be the generic setting you might choose if you are sending this image to a printing press that printed on individual sheets of paper. Okay, from the CMK drop-down menu, so we need to go back to Edit Color Settings and the CMK drop-down menu. We're going to choose Japan Web Coded Add right here. Notice that the color preview changes again. You might use this selection if you are sending this image overseas to be printed on a large catalog or book press. A web press is a high-volume, high-speed printing press that prints on large rolls of paper rather than individual sheets. You do not need to pick a CMYK setting simply because it looks good on your screen. You want to choose one based upon a recommendation from a printer, or you should use a generic settings that Adobe provides. The purpose of selecting an accurate setting is not only to keep your expectations realistic, it also helps you accurately adjust an image to produce the best and most accurate results. From the settings drop-down menu, choose North American Prepress 2. Right here. And click OK. And we're going to keep the file open. Keep in mind that if you're using your image for web only, then you can also use the preview feature to view your image on different platforms. To make this change, you would choose View Proof Set and choose either Internet Standard RGB or Legacy Macintosh RGB from the menu. So selecting colors, there are many methods that you can use to select colors to paint in Photoshop. Most methods end up using the color picker dialog box. In this section, you will review how to use the color picker to choose accurate colors. Click once on the Set Foreground Color box at the bottom of the Tools panel. Right here is Set Foreground Color. Click once on it. The color picker appears. It is tough to represent a 3D color space in 2D, but Photoshop does a pretty good job of interpreting colors in the color picker. Using the color picker, you can enter values on the right or use the color slider and color field on the left to create a custom color. Now, with the color picker open, click and drag the color slider to change the hue of your selected color. The active color is represented as a circle in the color field. Right here's the slider. Now, click the color field and then click and drag your selected color toward the upper right corner. Now, click in the color field right here and then click and drag your color toward the upper right, making it a brighter, more saturated color. To choose a lighter color, click and drag the selected color to the upper left corner. Even though you can select virtually any color using this method, you may not achieve the best results. Press Ctrl-Shift-Y to see how proof colors affects the colors in the color picker. Notice that colors that will not print well in CMYK show up in gray. That's a gamut warning right there. Press Ctrl-Shift-Y to turn it off. Ctrl-Shift-Y. Perhaps you're creating images for the web and you want to work with web safe colors only. This is very restrictive, but you can limit your color choices by checking the web only web colors checkbox in the color picker right here. Check and uncheck the only web colors checkbox to see the difference in the selectable colors in the color field. There are also warning icons in the color picker to help you choose the best colors for print and web. Click in the lower left corner of the color field and drag up toward the upper right corner. Note that at some point when you enter into the brighter colors, an out of gamut for printing icon, warning icon appears. This indicates that although you may have selected a very nice color, it is never going to print based upon your present color situation. Yep, right here. See the warning right there? Click on the out of gamut warning icon and Photoshop redirects you to the closest color that you can achieve. That one. Click and drag your selected color in the color field until you see the not a safe web color alert icon appear, which we have it right here. click on the Not a Safe Web Safe Color icon to redirect to the closest web safe color. There we go. Position the color picker so that you can see part of the PS061, the picture. Then position the cursor over any part of the image. Notice that the cursor turns into an eyedropper. Click to select any color from the image. Press OK and then file close. And we're not going to save the changes.